IRS relies on information technology to perform mission-critical functions. However, this vital technology relies on outdated and expensive legacy systems.
Hi, and welcome to GAO's Watchdog Report, your source for news and information from the U.S. Government Accountability Office. I'm your host, Holly Hobbs. The IRS is responsible for processing more than 150 million tax returns each year, as well as helping taxpayers understand their taxes and answering questions, among other things. But to complete this work, the IRS relies heavily on outdated legacy computer and data systems. Our new report looks at the challenges that IRS's use of older systems has caused, as well as the agency's plans to modernize this technology. We'll find out more from GAO's Dave Hinchman, an expert on IT systems. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Holly. Great to be here.
So, Dave, for taxpayers, what does it mean that IRS uses these legacy systems?
IRS relies extensively on IT systems to collect trillions of dollars in taxes every year, distribute hundreds of billions of dollars in refunds every year, and otherwise carry out its mission of providing service to the American taxpayers in meeting our tax obligations. And IRS's use of legacy IT, a system that's maybe older, possibly outdated, impacts taxpayers in different ways. IRS has itself acknowledged that these older legacy systems we're talking about totally limit IRS's ability to provide the kind of service taxpayers have grown accustomed to receiving in today's world. If you think about it, we're very used to using our phone to log onto our bank's mobile app and getting incredibly detailed information about our accounts and financial transactions. But GAO recently reported that IRS's Where's My Refund application, which is one of IRS's most popular and in-demand services, isn't capable of accessing detailed information on an individual's tax return status. And this was in turn leading taxpayers to then call IRS's toll-free numbers to get this information they're looking for. And these are calls which are due to IRS staffing shortages, might at best have insanely long waits to talk to someone, and at worst might actually go unanswered.
When we say IRS uses outdated or legacy systems, what do we mean?
That's a great question. The definition can vary from federal agency to federal agency. In the case of IRS, they define legacy as a system that's outdated but still critical to day-to-day operations. And under this definition, this includes IRS custom-built applications that are over 25 years or older, or which are written in outdated programming language, but also includes off-the-shelf software that's more than 2 versions behind the current version, and hardware that industry standards consider to be aged. When we did our analysis of IRS's IT enterprise, we found that this definition applied to about a third of IRS's custom applications, a quarter of their off-the-shelf software, and about 10% of their hardware assets.
Can you give us some examples?
I think the most notable example of all of this is one of IRS's custom applications, and it's one that directly impacts the taxpayer experience. And it's known as IRS's individual master file. This is the primary system that IRS uses to process individual taxpayer account data, including assessing taxes, generating refunds, and updating accounts. And Holly, the individual master file is now over 50 years old, meaning that it was built in the late 1960s at the same time that we were sending crews to the moon on the Apollo missions. And although the individual master file system has been updated over the years, it still relies on COBOL, which is a programming language that fewer and fewer people are familiar with. From what we can tell, COBOL isn't even really taught anymore and is considered by some in the field to be an obsolete computer language. IRS has been trying to modernize the individual master file for several decades, has spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and is now targeting not until 2030 at the earliest for the completion of this vital work, at which point the system will be over 60 years old.
So the IRS knows it has problems, and it has plans to modernize its technology. What are these plans, and when might we see changes?
So the most current modernization plans are covered by a high-level 5-year plan for modernizing IRS's IT that the agency issued in April 2019, and so at 5 years that goes through 2024. This plan identifies a series of initiatives supporting 4 broad categories of work such as taxpayer experience and cybersecurity, and as of August 2022, IRS was pursuing 21 different initiatives, each with detailed supporting plans to implement implement this high-level plan. This includes initiatives like replacing the individual master file that we've talked about and also expanding web services that are available to taxpayers. And so we looked at these plans, and unfortunately, we realized that all of these 21 initiatives have completion dates beyond the current high-level plan's end date of 2024. And as a further complication, earlier this year, IRS suspended 6 of the 21 initiatives because their resources were reassigned to address higher organizational priorities. We still haven't seen what impact this will have on that targeted completion date of 2030 for replacing the individual master file.
Dave, beyond the delays, what else were we looking for in IRS's plans?
Specifically, the 3 things that we looked for were 1, a description of the work to be completed, 2, milestones for completing the work, and 3, how IRS plans to dispose of any legacy systems that are part of that modernization effort. All of the plans included both descriptions of the work and project milestones, which is great. This is exactly what we wanted to see. And 12 of these plans were geared towards new capabilities that IRS wants to build out, but the remaining 9 plans were very much geared towards replacing legacy systems. And of those 9 plans, only 3 included the details we expected to see about disposing of legacy systems. This raises questions for us about whether IRS has really thought through what they plan to do with these legacy systems that they want to replace.
So Dave just told us that the IRS's use of legacy IT systems have had an impact on taxpayers as well as the IRS itself, and that while IRS has plans to modernize these IT systems, its efforts have been delayed and are missing some key components that could further delay updates. So Dave, what can the IRS do to improve its efforts?
We recommended that IRS establish timeframes for addressing the disposition of legacy systems for the 6 modernization initiatives that didn't include this element in their plans. In addition, IRS needs to follow through on documenting complete modernization plans for those 6 initiatives. And in the agency's formal response to our report, IRS agreed with all of our recommendations and outlined plans to address a number of the concerns we raised. I think the planned actions that IRS shared in their letter are a substantial public commitment to addressing the findings in our report, and these actions, if taken, could have a positive difference in addressing the gaps that we identified in our work.
And last question, what's the bottom line of this report?
At the end of the day, IRS relies extensively on information technology to perform mission-critical functions. IT is literally the vehicle in which our taxes are processed. However, this vital technology relies on the heavy use of outdated and expensive legacy systems, and these legacy systems are the same things that contribute to security risks. Unmet mission needs, and shortage of skilled staff. IRS needs to identify timeframes for completing those plans and then follow through on those timeframes to help ensure the success of their modernization efforts.
That was Dave Hinchman talking about GAO's recent review of IRS's plans to modernize its legacy IT systems. Thanks for your time, Dave.
Thanks, Holly. It was great to be here.
And thank you for listening to the Watchdog Report. To hear more podcasts, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And make sure to leave a rating and review to let others know about the work we're doing. For more from the Congressional Watchdog, the U.S. Government Accountability Office, visit us at gao.gov.